Initially I knew that I wanted to go back to grad school, so I started researching, and I ended up choosing the K-State program just for a variety of reasons. One, it was online, which made it very flexible for me to still have a full-time career, but it also provided the opportunity to come on campus and network and engage with my peers and with the faculty here as well. And also just wanted to stick with a university that had a strong reputation and especially had deep roots in agriculture.
Thanks for joining us this week for this week's Washington Week in Review. I'm Ben Nuelle, joined by Phil Brasher. Phil, a lot going on in Washington this week. Obviously, it seems like when Congress is up on a deadline, things kind of start to move along. But a little bit of a hectic week. We started off with seeing a little bit of progress with the disaster bill in the Senate earlier in the week. But then just yesterday, the USDA announced a trade assistance package of about $16 billion there. And, it seems to me, obviously, folks are, especially farmers, wanting to know about what's going on with this market facilitation program and how exactly that's going to work.
Yeah, we had a huge announcement yesterday. It was put together fairly quickly, this new package. It's $16 billion, as you say. That's compared to the first package was $12 billion. Even more significantly, this was expanded to many more commodities. The payment rate, the formula is very different than it was before. Previously, you got a MFP payment based on the amount of soybeans or corn or wheat or other commodities that you produced in 2018 times the payment rate. This time it's going to be based on a more complicated calculation, but it's going to be based on a rate for the county in which your farm is and how much you actually plant here in 2019.
And obviously, folks across the central portion of the Midwest and U.S. still maybe figuring out what they're going to plant. So a lot of confusion as far as what they're still going to want to do there, as maybe might have to do some prevent plant. Some of those folks may.
Yeah, that's a big on a little bit of uncertainty there. Of course, what USDA is emphasizing is they don't want producers taking into account what they might get out of this package, so they're withholding a lot of these details possibly for that reason. But it's hard to believe that for many farmers it's not going to calculate in some way in terms of having to try to figure out, guess maybe, what they might get out of this versus when they're deciding whether to go ahead and plant or not.
And then yesterday, a disaster bill did go through the Senate. Kind of interesting. At the same time, ironically, a tornado warning was happening in Washington, D.C. Maybe that had something pressure put on some of these folks, who knows, but interesting scenario there as well.
Yeah, it was a bizarre scene. Everyone's phones went off with this tornado warning in the Capitol. The speakers came on. We were all told to shelter in place. Meanwhile, the Senate was voting, starting the votes on this $19.1 billion disaster bill, the text of which had only been released maybe a couple of hours before. So it was quite a scene. And then the tornado warning alerts were also going off at the same time over at the White House, where President Trump was with a gathering of farmers to talk about that trade aid package that we were just discussing.
And looking at this bill, this disaster bill, it seems to be like just today that there's been a slight hiccup with this bill, or what's the situation there?
Well, the Senate passed it easily, 85-8, as that storm was coming. Maybe we needed a storm. We have a beautiful day here on a Friday here in D.C. Maybe that was the problem. But anyway, Democrats in the House thought they could just voice vote this because the lawmakers have left for the week-long Memorial Day recess. But a Republican from Texas, Chip Roy, blocked a vote, the voice vote here in the House on on this disaster aid bill ahead of the Memorial Day weekend, so this will be hanging.
So we're going to wait till
for a
obviously
while.
they come back. Then is what's going to have to happen. I'm assuming that's what's
Potentially, but yeah, we'll see. It's a little bit of limbo right now. But obviously, this was an agreement between the White House, Republicans, and Democrats over in the Senate and the House.
And obviously, we're going into the Memorial Day weekend, but things we're watching next week as Congress is out in their districts and back home. E15 RIN reform rule expected to come out by the EPA to be published there, that final rule sometime next week. We'll be watching that, so stay tuned to Agri-Pulse.com for the latest news on that. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. For Phil Brasher, I'm Ben Nuelle, and thanks for watching.